The scene starts off pretty wild. The big druid-like guy suddenly tells the blonde huntress that he wants to have children with her. Basically, he's asking her to mate with him. She immediately reacts by slapping him, which honestly makes sense. Still, it's kind of ironic because she was the one who told him he could ask for anything if he won. And the way things are going, it feels like this might actually come back later.
Yeah, boy.
Beginning. It all started on a normal day when the sky suddenly went crazy. Massive lightning bolts started falling everywhere, throwing the city into chaos. The main character got caught right in the middle of it. While trying to escape, he ran across the street and almost got hit by a truck. Classic bad timing. But before anything happened, he was suddenly pulled into another world. When he woke up, everything felt off. The sky looked strange, there were 2 moons and odd creatures were flying around. He also realized he had nothing on him, no clothes, nothing. It was clear he wasn't on Earth anymore. Not long after, he saw a brutal fight between a group of wolves and a bear. The wolves worked together and eventually took it down. Watching all of this left him completely overwhelmed. Then things got worse. One of the wolves appeared behind him and locked eyes with him. Panic kicked in, and he ran as fast as he could. He kept running until he was completely exhausted, somehow even getting a small boost in stamina along the way. But it didn't last. He tripped, lost his balance, and ended up tumbling down a cliff, rolling all the way to the bottom. He crashed hard and was left in terrible shape. But strangely enough, that's where he finally found something to eat. The fruit looked kind of like a tomato. Some ants were already eating it, so he figured it was probably safe. Without thinking too much, he started eating it quickly. But then, something felt off. He suddenly realized he wasn't alone. Something was watching him. His body froze. When he slowly looked up, he saw a massive snake ready to strike. It was huge, way bigger than anything he had seen before. At that point, it felt like it was already over for him. But before the snake could attack, an even bigger creature showed up. A giant frog appeared out of nowhere and swallowed the snake right in front of him. That was enough to completely break his mind. This world was just insane. He couldn't handle it anymore and passed out. Months went by. One day, while it was raining, he was seen drinking water dripping from leaves. It had been 67 days since he arrived in this strange world. The wolves were still chasing him, forcing him to constantly move and look for safer places. Time passed quickly. After about a year, things had changed a lot. He was now living differently. At one point, he was picking large banana-like fruits from a tree. When one slipped, he caught it just in time, and somehow that small action made him stronger. His body had been changing little by little this whole time. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was evolving. There was also a young wolf that had started following him around. It stuck so close to him that whenever it wasn't around, he actually felt its absence. Then one day, something suddenly splashed water on his back. When he looked up, he saw a giant gorilla staring down at him. It seemed like he had accidentally taken something that belonged to it. The gorilla attacked immediately. Its swing was powerful, but he managed to dodge just in time. The impact alone snapped a tree branch, and the gorilla ended up crashing down, right onto the small wolf, sending it flying. The little one was badly hurt. Even then, it didn't run away. That only made the gorilla angrier. It attacked again, hitting the wolf. At that moment, he stepped in from behind and struck the gorilla in the eye. But it barely made a difference. He got thrown aside instantly and slammed into a tree. The gorilla, still full of rage, charged toward him again. It felt like this was the end. In this world, there was always something stronger. Someone always ruled. And right when everything seemed over, a massive wolf suddenly leaped in and attacked the gorilla. The rest of the pack followed, biting and overwhelming it together. As the fight went on, his vision started fading. He was losing consciousness. That could have been the end. But things changed after that day. The small wolf he saved turned out to be the son of the pack's leader. Because of that, he was finally accepted into the group. From then on, they stayed together. If he fell behind, the wolf would wait for him. If the wolf got tired, he would carry it. Slowly, they grew stronger side by side. Years passed. After 2 years in that world, he was no longer an outsider. He had become part of the pack. Time kept moving. After decades, he was climbing steep mountains with ease, hunting massive creatures alongside his wolf family, and fighting for territory almost every day. What once terrified him had now become his normal life. Eventually, more than a century passed. By that point, he was probably the only human left in that world. Along the way, he had met many companions and lost many as well. After so long, time itself started to lose meaning for him. At some point, he stopped counting the days. All he knew was that hundreds of years had already passed. Much later, a massive conflict broke out over a place called Moonlight Hill. The wolves and the gorillas were charging straight at each other, ready for war. Chaos filled the battlefield as both sides clashed. Right in the middle of it all, he went straight for one of the strongest gorillas. But just as the fight reached its peak, something strange happened. A bright light suddenly appeared, and before he could react, he was pulled into another dimension again. In an instant, everything around him was swallowed by a massive explosion. When it was over, nothing remained of him, except a single dagger left behind. On the other side, things were just as chaotic. A group of hunters felt something was seriously wrong. The dimensional energy around them was unstable, completely out of control. They even started calling for backup. Then suddenly, a surge of energy burst open in front of them. Everyone immediately backed away, knowing a portal was about to form. The blonde hunter quickly drew her sword, preparing for whatever might come out. As the portal opened, a figure appeared inside it. The moment she saw the silhouette, she couldn't believe her eyes. When the figure looked directly at her, her body froze. She started trembling like prey standing in front of a predator. Someone nearby shouted in shock, realizing that whatever was coming out didn't feel human at all. The energy surrounding him was overwhelming, far beyond anything they had ever sensed before. And then, suddenly, he collapsed. He fell right in front of them. No one had ever seen such dense energy coming from a single person. Even high-level monsters had never given off that kind of pressure. It didn't make any sense. So what exactly was he? Later on, his entire story was being told to a psychologist. After listening carefully, the doctor thanked him and said the report would be sent to the awakened central. Just as the session was ending, he called out to the doctor. The man turned back, slightly confused, but all he wanted was to say thanks for listening. It had been 1,000 years since he last spoke to another human. The doctor, in return, said he was grateful too, for hearing such an unbelievable story about a warrior who survived for 1,000 years. Still, as he walked out, he couldn't help but feel that everything about it was strange. Meanwhile, at the awakened central, the blonde hunter was completely confused. She was told that his rank was F, the lowest possible level, basically just an ordinary person, but that didn't match what she had seen at all. Someone like that shouldn't have been able to come through the portal. Another officer tried to brush it off as luck. Then he mentioned that the test results were already available and asked if she wanted to read them. According to the report, he was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. It claimed that his behavior, acting like a wild animal, was just trauma. Even what she thought she saw might have been her imagination, but she couldn't accept that. So she decided to go check for herself. At the hospital, he had been under observation for 2 weeks. One day, his food was brought in. He was starving, so the moment it arrived, he started eating like he hadn't seen food in years. Right then, she walked into the room and greeted him. What she saw was strange. He was sitting on the bed, eating in a way that didn't feel human at all, more like a wild animal guarding its meal. His behavior was sharp and alert, almost like he expected someone to take his food away. She introduced herself as Cho Su-Yang. The moment he heard her voice, he stood up and moved closer. Then, without hesitation, he leaned in and sniffed her. He said she felt familiar. To him, it wasn't just a random feeling. He had recognized her scent immediately. And the reason she felt familiar was simple. She was the very first person he saw when he returned to this world. When he first came out of the portal, he had the presence of a predator. That alone was enough to make anyone uneasy. Still, she started wondering if maybe she had judged him too quickly. Then he suddenly asked what she wanted, in a blunt and almost rude way. That caught her off guard. She didn't understand why he was speaking to her like that. His answer made it even stranger. He casually said it was because he was 1,000 years old. At that moment, everything started to make sense to her. No wonder he had been labeled as mentally unstable. Ignoring that, she handed him some documents and told him to sign them so he could be cleared to return to normal society. But instead of signing right away, he got distracted by the pen. He picked it up, examined it closely, even sniffed it, as if it was something fascinating. He casually mentioned that even after 1,000 years, people were still using this. That was the last straw for her patience. She snapped at him, telling him to stop messing around and just sign properly. She even asked if he was some kind of caveman. Her irritation kept building, especially when she saw what he wrote. His signature was literally a drawing of a wolf. Trying to move things along, she asked if he had gained anything during all those years. Maybe some kind of magic, special ability, anything useful. But his answer was simple. He said he didn't learn anything like that. He just survived in a forest. That frustrated her even more. From her point of view, if someone had spent years in another world, they should have come back stronger, hunting monsters and absorbing their power. Instead, it sounded like he just wandered around and got lucky enough to return. That's when he corrected her. He said it wasn't 10 years, it was 1,000. She immediately dismissed it, saying it had only been 10. He looked confused, so she told him to check his records. According to the file, he disappeared in 2015 and came back in 2025. When he read it himself, he froze. It was true. She handed him his awakened ID and started leaving. Before going, she mentioned that some expenses would be deducted because of the damage he caused and that he could ask about it later. She also told him that once he was stable, he should visit his family. After she left, he couldn't stop thinking about that. He had always believed that if he ever returned, everyone he knew would already be gone. After living for what felt like 1,000 years, he had accepted that reality. But now, things were different. On Earth, only 10 years had passed. At the same time, it hit him that he had also left behind the only family he had for centuries, the ones from that forest. With a mix of hope and fear, he checked the documents more carefully. What he found shocked him. His parents had died that same day he disappeared. But not everything was lost. His younger brother, Junho, was still alive. Without wasting a second, he rushed out and went straight back to the doctor. The doctor was surprised and asked what was wrong. He explained quickly. His brother was alive, and he needed help finding him. The doctor hesitated. He said that he might not be ready to face the world yet, and that things should be handled carefully. That only made him more impatient. He said this wasn't something small, and he wasn't asking for permission. Seeing how serious he was, the doctor finally agreed, but with one condition. Not long after, he was sitting in a car. He thanked the doctor, promising he wouldn't forget the help. The doctor said they would stay in contact, then told the driver to make sure he got there safely since he still hadn't fully recovered. As the car drove off, the girl couldn't help but question it. She pointed out how the doctor had paid all his hospital bills, given him clothes, and even arranged a ride. For someone ranked so low, that kind of treatment was unusual. Normally, people like him were ignored. The doctor just said he was curious. He wanted to hear more of his story. Then he casually added that he also needed to replace another doorknob. That reminded her of what had happened earlier, how he had yanked the door open so hard that it broke. Later, the doctor sat alone in his office, thinking about it. He mentioned it was already the second doorknob. Then he quietly said it had been a long time since he had sensed someone unusual. Meanwhile, inside the car, he sat silently as a news report played. It talked about an incident earlier that day. Around 3 p.m., monsters had escaped from an unprotected area because of a small mistake involving a portal. They had surrounded the nearby zone, and officials believed the situation would be handled within an hour. Even so, there were losses. A couple of attacks were stopped, but several awakened soldiers had already died. He listened carefully. It reminded him of what the doctor had said before, that the world had changed completely after something called the Great Disaster. At the time, the doctor had joked that if he were awakened, he would quit his job and make money hunting monsters. When asked what that meant, the doctor seemed surprised that he didn't already know, so he explained. About 10 years ago, gates started opening all over the world. That event was later called the Great Disaster. It was when Earth connected with other dimensions and monsters began pouring in. That day alone wiped out a huge portion of the population. The military couldn't handle it. The attacks were happening everywhere at once. So, in many places, people turned to mercenaries instead, those who had either awakened special abilities or had returned from those other worlds. These people were given licenses and allowed to hunt monsters. When he asked how to become one, the doctor said it wasn't easy. First, a person had to awaken. After that, they needed to pass a test at the central office. It sounded complicated. Sometime later, the car stopped. The driver told him they had arrived and pointed toward a house nearby. He got out, thanked him, and slowly walked up to the place. An old woman noticed him and asked who he was. He said he was looking for Junho. The woman gave him a strange look and muttered something about someone who still acted like a child but talked like an adult. He didn't understand what she meant. Then she told him no one by that name lived there and asked him to leave. He started wondering if he had come to the wrong place. But just as he was about to turn back, he heard loud arguing from inside the house. He moved closer to the door. Nearby, he noticed a piece of paper lying around. After picking it up, he looked at it carefully. It made him think. Maybe his brother was dealing with some kind of debt. A little later, he walked down the street, thinking about how different things were. In the wild, everything depended on strength. But here, in human society, money was what really decided everything. Soon, he arrived at a building and showed his awakened ID. After checking it, the woman at the desk told him his application for the mercenary test had been rejected. That confused him. He asked what the problem was when he was already ranked F. She explained that his stats were still below the minimum requirement. He was short by a few points, so he didn't qualify yet. That didn't sit right with him. He pointed out that he had crossed a portal just 2 weeks ago. That alone should prove something. But she didn't believe him. She said normal people don't survive portals. Their bodies usually get torn apart. Then she added that whether it was true or not didn't matter. If he wanted to move forward, he had 2 options: join an awakened school or gain points by fighting in the field, then come back later. As he walked out, he couldn't help but feel the whole system was messed up. Still, something caught his interest, a place known as the Goblin Field in Swan. Later, he was in another taxi, asking the driver how far the city walls stretched. The driver said they surrounded the entire city and told him to just check a map app. He even explained that the city was divided into multiple zones with hundreds of gates scattered around. Looking outside, he realized he didn't have time to waste. Before long, they arrived. The driver pointed ahead and said it was Swan Field, Gate 27. He stepped out and faced a massive entrance. Just by looking at it, he could tell it led to a hunting ground. Without hesitation, he started walking toward it. 2 soldiers stopped him immediately. They asked what he was doing there. He calmly said he came to hunt. One of them asked for his mercenary license. He admitted he didn't have one. That was enough for them to block his path. Civilians weren't allowed inside. But suddenly something went wrong. Both soldiers noticed movement nearby. One of them shouted to close the exit, but it was too late. A car came crashing through the checkpoint at full speed. Inside the vehicle, a monster was tearing into a man. The car slammed into a wall, and everything turned chaotic. One of the soldiers quickly called for backup while the others surrounded the vehicle, preparing to fight. The creature crawled out, and they immediately opened fire. Bullet after bullet hit it until it finally stopped moving. After a moment, they reported that the situation was under control and the monster had been taken down. Then one of them realized something. The guy they had stopped earlier was gone. He assumed the man had run away after seeing the monster, but that wasn't the case. He had already left the area on his own, calmly walking away. To him, it didn't matter whether it was inside the field or outside. He could sense everything around him anyway. While walking, he casually thought about getting his own car. Looking around at the surroundings, he started wondering if most cities had been destroyed except for a few. It was hard for him to believe how much the world had changed. As night fell, something about the darkness felt familiar to him. He moved quietly through the ruins, saying it was time to hunt. After a moment, he crouched down, noticing his body still felt a bit heavy. Then he studied the nearby buildings carefully before suddenly taking off. He dashed forward, climbed up with ease, and reached the rooftop in seconds. Standing there, he looked over the area, not to show off, but because he was already preparing for what came next. He started relying on his senses instead of sight, trying to figure out where to go. After a moment, he suddenly turned his head in one direction, as if he had locked onto something. Without hesitation, he jumped down. The landing was smooth, almost effortless. His shoes gripped the ground perfectly. Moving through the empty streets, he eventually reached a dark alley. At the far end, a group of goblins had surrounded a dog. Their mouths were dripping with hunger, making it clear they were ready to tear it apart. Even so, the dog refused to give up and kept fighting back. That's when he stepped out of the shadows. He glanced at the dog and casually asked if it needed help. The answer was obvious just by looking at it, but there was no time to waste. The goblins had already decided to attack. They rushed toward him all at once. He smiled and charged forward too. In a flash, he moved behind one of them and struck. The hit was so strong that the goblin's body collapsed instantly. Right after that, something strange happened. Windows started appearing in front of his eyes, one after another. They looked like system messages, but something was wrong. Errors kept popping up, as if the system couldn't properly process what he was doing. He didn't understand it. Before he could think more about it, the remaining goblins attacked. They seemed confident at first, but that didn't last long. One by one, they were taken down with a single hit each. The last one panicked and tried to escape. It climbed up a nearby building, thinking it could get away, but it made the mistake of stopping and looking back. He was already there. With a simple move, he threw it off the roof. The fall finished it. Back on the ground, another system message appeared, warning about errors related to his abilities. That made him think back to his early days in the other world, when he was struggling to survive and first started gaining strength. Maybe the system still existed here, and maybe these errors were the reason his body felt weaker after returning. Then a new window appeared, an achievement shop. Curious, he opened it. It showed he had a few points and some basic items available. Nothing impressive, but he chose a few anyway. The items appeared right in front of him. Just as he was about to eat, he heard a sound. It was the same dog from earlier. This time, a small puppy was beside it. He walked over and gently placed his hand on the dog. It didn't take long to realize the truth. It was dying. The dog seemed ready to let go, but he wasn't. Without words, it felt like the animal was asking him to protect its pup. He couldn't ignore that. In the other world, wolves had been his family. Maybe this was happening for a reason. He gave the dog some food, then turned toward the goblin bodies, 7 of them. He worked through the entire night, doing what needed to be done. By sunrise, it was finished. He made a small grave for the dog that had fought until the end to protect its child. For a moment, he just stood there in silence. Meanwhile, back at the entrance of Area 27, everything had turned into chaos. Cars were stuck, horns were blaring, and people were getting frustrated. Then suddenly, the noise faded. Someone was walking toward them. On his back were several goblin corpses. Even dead, those creatures were enough to make everyone step aside. Streaming interrupted, waiting for the complete message. After that, he sold the goblin bodies and earned over 10,000. Most of the value came from the crystals inside them. That was where the real money was. At the same time, somewhere else, a truck was parked near a convenience store. Inside, a man was chatting with an old friend while picking up a chocolate bar for his kid. Back at the truck, he felt relaxed. It had been an easy day, and all he wanted now was to go home. But that calm didn't last. Someone suddenly called his name, Junho. Before he could react, a heavy punch knocked him to the ground. The man standing over him said it had been a while. He joked that they were starting to think Junho had actually run away and abandoned everything. Junho looked up and recognized him. Then the others joined in, beating him while mocking him. They said he looked better than the last time they saw him and joked about how often they had to come looking for him. Desperate, Junho quickly pulled out some cash and said it was all he had. The man counted it, then laughed. He explained that the monthly payment alone was already huge, and with interest added, Junho was still far from covering it. With tears in his eyes, Junho begged for just 3 more days. Instead of agreeing, the man hit him again and asked if he even understood how fast the interest kept growing. He told him to stop making excuses. Then suddenly, someone called out to him. One of the men turned and asked who it was. Junho froze. Standing there was his brother. Park walked closer and calmly asked if he was really Junho. For a moment, old memories flashed back. Junho being bullied while Park stood by and did nothing. Junho asking for help, only to be ignored as his brother walked away. Back then, Park had never really been there for him. The memory shifted to that day. The disaster. Explosions happening everywhere, strange spheres appearing, and portals opening across the world. Junho had run to his parents, confused and scared. They were relieved to see him, but they still didn't know where Park was. Then everything got worse. Monsters started pouring out, and in the chaos, Junho saw something terrifying, a giant eye watching him. After that, he disappeared. Back in the present, Park looked at him and said he had grown a lot. Junho replied quietly that he thought his brother was dead. One of the men interrupted, asking if this guy was really his older brother. Before anyone could react, Park grabbed him by the head and threw him aside like it was nothing. Junho just stared, shocked. The impact was so strong that it left everyone frozen for a moment. Park turned back and asked his brother if he was hurt. Junho said he was fine. Then another man rushed in to attack. Park tried to kick him, but something went wrong. Instead of hurting the attacker, his own leg broke. He collapsed instantly, screaming in pain. The last thug froze, now clearly scared. He guessed Park wasn't even awakened. Even so, Park told him to come at him. But the man quickly backed off, saying he never even touched Junho and that he had actually told the others to leave him alone. Streaming interrupted, waiting for the complete message. A moment later, he handed the man some cash and told him to just take it and leave. That night, they both stood in front of the old woman's house. She looked at him carefully and asked if he was really Junho's brother. Junho confirmed it without hesitation. He greeted her respectfully and said he had brought some meat. She nodded and said family should stay connected, then told them to hurry inside since the child had fallen asleep waiting for his father. Inside, a small boy was sleeping peacefully. He asked if that was Junho's son. Junho smiled softly and said his name was Gung-ho, his only treasure. When asked about the boy's mother, Junho quietly said she had left to live her own life. He blamed himself, saying he couldn't provide enough. Trying to ease the mood, he suggested they sit down and have a drink. Later, the two brothers were sitting together, drinking and talking. Junho said that after his brother disappeared, he truly believed he was dead, but now he was back and somehow hadn't aged at all. Then came the real question. He asked how much debt Junho had. Junho hesitated before saying it was around 200,000. Even then, he tried to act like it wasn't a big deal, saying he would figure something out. He explained that he had a job now. When asked what kind, he said he worked at a logistics center. The truck outside wasn't even his. It used to belong to his grandmother's son, and now he just rented it from her. When asked what happened to that man, Junho simply said he was one of the people who died during the Great Disaster. A little later, the boy woke up. He saw a dog sitting in front of him and got curious. When he looked around, he noticed his father nearby. Junho smiled and asked if he was finally awake. The boy shyly asked who the other man was. Junho told him it was his uncle and asked him to greet him. Soon after, the child started playing with the dog. Junho looked happy seeing that since his son had always wanted one. Then, out of nowhere, he suggested they should work together. Junho didn't understand what he meant. He explained that he would take care of the dangerous part. All he needed was help with the truck. When asked what he was planning, he gave a simple answer. He wanted to hunt monsters. That completely shocked Junho. Later, at the central office, the blonde woman congratulated him. Somehow, he had managed to increase his stats in just one day and officially register as an awakened. He asked if that meant he was now an F-rank druid. She confirmed it and explained that he could now use his ID to open a bank account and manage his earnings. Then she handed him a small welcome gift for registering. She also told him to download the central app and start collecting enough dimensional energy to rise in rank. On top of that, he would now be eligible for certain benefits and support. Then she asked if he knew how to check his status window. Since there had been recent system updates, the interface had changed a bit. He said the command, and a screen appeared in front of him, showing all his stats. Looking at it, he couldn't help but wonder why everything still seemed so low. Meanwhile, back in the truck, Junho was on a call, sounding a bit more cheerful than usual. He mentioned that his brother finally had a phone and congratulated him on becoming an awakened. He said he was on his way and would meet him after finishing his last delivery. Streaming interrupted, waiting for the complete message. Now that he was officially registered as awakened, the only step left was the mercenary test. But he had something else in mind. He said they should deal with Junho's debt first. Junho immediately warned him. Being F rank meant he was still weak, so going out to hunt monsters right now was dangerous. Instead of arguing, he just ended the call. Junho stared at his phone, confused. It didn't feel like the same brother anymore. He had changed too much. Meanwhile, as he headed toward the gate, he noticed something strange. It looked closed. At the same time, on Route 77, a group was rushing somewhere. Inside their car, everyone looked tense. One guy tried to calm the others down, asking why they were acting scared when they were awakened. He reminded them that if they cleared this dungeon, they could officially become guild raiders. But deep down, he thought they were useless. To him, they were just people chasing money, and without connections, they wouldn't even be there. Soon, they reached the checkpoint. A soldier called for the next person. He was surprised to see him again. The soldier asked if he was alone, and he simply said yes. He placed his card on the reader, and his information appeared. The soldier reminded him that his rank limited what he could do, so he couldn't just enter any dungeon. Nearby, one of the men from the car watched closely. He couldn't believe it. He was actually going in alone. Another soldier quietly wondered if that was even safe, especially since he didn't have proper gear. But the first soldier brushed it off, saying this was the same guy who took down 7 goblins by himself. Back in the car, one of the men got irritated. He didn't understand who this guy thought he was, walking in like that. After a brief delay due to technical issues, the group was cleared to enter. The man told his team to hurry. They were going to follow the same path. But then something strange happened. Right in the middle of the tunnel, he disappeared. The others were confused, asking where he went. The man narrowed his eyes, thinking they might have stumbled onto something interesting. On the other side, the environment completely changed. He was now in a forest. He ran forward for a while before stopping. His body didn't feel the same. It was clearly weaker than before. He realized he needed to rebuild his strength from scratch. Just then, he heard something. The sound of metal clashing. It sounded like people fighting. He moved closer and quickly figured out where it was coming from. A small smile appeared on his face. A fight between humans could be useful. From above, he observed the scene. Below, a group was trapped and surrounded. One of them had already lost an arm. The situation was clearly one-sided. Watching it, he felt annoyed. They were taking too long. Then a man stepped out of a car nearby and demanded to know why it wasn't over yet. One of the soldiers looked surprised to see him. The man snapped, ordering them to finish it immediately. Another soldier mentioned that the target had a bounty, 200,000. Hearing that number, his interest instantly grew. That was a huge amount. Down below, the group prepared to end it. The man confirmed the bounty and told them to capture the target if possible. Streaming interrupted, waiting for the complete message. Even though they had numbers, no one looked confident. It was clear they weren't sure they could win, even if they went all out. Then suddenly, the target made the first move and rushed forward. At the same time, he stepped in. Out of nowhere, he appeared and started walking straight toward the soldiers. One of the men watching got confused, and another asked who he even was, but he didn't stop. He just kept moving forward calmly. When the man in charge asked who he was, he ignored the question and instead asked if the bounty was really that high. The man confirmed it and asked again who he was. He gave a simple answer, just someone who needed money. That made a few of the subordinates exchange looks, wondering who this guy even was. The man in charge laughed, saying he wasn't from the central office and should have stayed out of this. But right then, something felt off. His body suddenly became stiff. The man explained it casually. Since he had made eye contact for more than a few seconds, he was now bound and couldn't move. He ordered his soldiers to attack. They raised their swords and moved in, but before anything could happen, he suddenly moved again. Everyone froze. No one understood how he broke free. With a slight smile, he asked if that was some kind of magic. He even said it was interesting. The man tried again, using the same ability, and froze him once more. This time, he admitted that it made sense. He wasn't some weak opponent. He pulled out a dagger, saying he should have known better than to interfere. But before he could act, he was struck first. The hit landed clean. Then another, and another. The man was sent flying back, completely overwhelmed. He didn't even stand a chance. Watching it all, one of the others realized something terrifying. This guy wasn't normal. He was way stronger than he looked. The rest of the soldiers just stood there, staring. He looked at them and casually asked if they still wanted to fight. They quickly backed down. Then he pointed to one side and told them to move over there. He asked if anyone had a rope, and one of them said yes. Next, he asked about their rewards. They immediately explained they didn't have any bounties themselves. They were only working under that man because they had no choice. If they didn't obey, they would have been killed, so turning him in alone would already make a lot of money. Hearing that, the man on the ground looked furious. He couldn't believe his own people turned on him so easily. He was told to stay quiet. The group started insulting him, calling him worthless. Then came another question. Was there really nothing to gain from dealing with the rest of them? The man tried to argue that they were lying, saying some of them must have bounties too since they were criminals. But they denied it, claiming they were just nobody drifters. Desperate, the man tried one last time. He asked what kind of world allowed someone to act so freely like this. He claimed that this place was true freedom and promised that if he was let go, he would make sure everything worked out in his favor. Before he could finish, he was shut up with a kick. He went silent after that. One of the others finally admitted the truth. Most of them really did have records. Many were former criminals. Hearing that, the man realized it was over. He asked if it was even possible to take all of them in. Someone suggested they could just leave a few behind. He didn't agree. Instead, he calmly said it was time for everyone to take a nap. Streaming interrupted, waiting for the complete message. Later, they were all riding together in a car. One of the men said they owed him their lives. Without him, they would have died back there. But he brushed it off, saying there was no need for thanks. The man still insisted. So he finally said that if they really wanted to repay him, they could just do him a favor. That quickly turned into a conversation about abilities. One of them explained that his awakened power was swordsmanship, and that he had learned tracking skills through something called skill books. That caught him off guard. He was surprised people could actually learn abilities from books. Hearing that, the others were just as shocked that he didn't even know what skill books were. He started thinking that learning a few combat skills like that might actually help him later. But before the conversation could go further, something unexpected happened. A huge light suddenly appeared ahead, covering the area. He looked at it and asked if that was a portal. The others were surprised by the question, then confirmed it. It was a level 1 dungeon, the lowest type, and that was exactly where they were heading. He casually said that was unfortunate. If he had a mercenary license, he could have gone in too. That made the man stare at him in disbelief. He asked if he seriously didn't have a license. He admitted that he didn't. The man then explained how things worked. Whenever a portal appeared, the military would secure the area first. Any monsters left outside were just weak ones that slipped through. He added that even low-level fields could help someone grow. But realistically, someone like him should already be attempting higher-level dungeons. What confused him the most was this. How could someone who hadn't even cleared a basic dungeon defeat a C-rank opponent? Noticing the stare, he asked what the problem was. The man apologized and asked directly what rank he was. When he heard the answer, F rank, he was completely stunned. After that, he started thinking about what favor he should actually ask for. Meanwhile, back at the portal, a group began coming out. It was the same man from earlier, along with his team. They looked exhausted and injured. One of them had even lost a hand during the dungeon run, and they were urgently calling for medical help. The man was clearly annoyed. He muttered that licenses must be getting handed out too easily these days. He said that once he got back to the guild, he was going to confront whoever allowed such weak people in. Another member tried to calm him down, reminding him that the guild was already struggling. But he didn't let it go. He complained about how rich families were buying their way in, getting their kids awakened, then paying mercenaries to carry them through dungeons. After that, those same kids would join guilds, leaving the real members to deal with the consequences. Seeing his frustration, someone suggested they relax with a drink. Instead, he asked about the situation outside. Since the dungeon was about to close, he wanted to know if anything unusual had happened. One of the soldiers answered, something big had happened. Someone had just turned in 10 captured criminals, and one of them was actually a C rank. That immediately got his attention. He asked if some high-rank hunter had come through the area. The soldier shook his head. It wasn't anyone like that. It was an F-rank rookie, without a mercenary license. He couldn't believe it. The only thing he could ask was, how? The soldier admitted he didn't know the full story. All he knew was that witnesses saw an F-rank take down that man like it was nothing. Hearing that, the man immediately connected the dots. It had to be the same guy he saw earlier in the tunnel. He asked where that rookie went. The soldier said he saw him heading toward the portals. That was enough. The man rushed off, determined to see that guy's strength for himself, and maybe even make use of him somehow. Not long after, he climbed into a truck. One of his teammates asked what was going on. He replied by asking if the guy who captured that criminal had just entered a portal. At the same time, inside a dungeon, he stepped through and noticed something right away. This time, passing through didn't hurt at all. Even his clothes were fine. Junho explained it to him. Items without dimensional energy couldn't pass through portals, but clothes made from dungeon materials could. Looking around, he noticed something strange and asked what the object in front of him was. Junho told him it was a door. He explained that the portal they entered was just one of many entrances connected to multiple dungeons. Then suddenly, the door vanished. That confused him. Junho explained that it would reappear once the dungeon was cleared, so he asked the obvious question. Did they need to kill every monster? The answer was no. They just needed to defeat the boss. Hearing that, he stretched a bit and casually said he'd finish this quickly. Junho tried to stop him, but it was too late. He had already rushed ahead. Watching this, the man following them was shocked. He was now almost certain this was the same guy. With that kind of strength, breaking the clear time record for a low-level dungeon didn't seem impossible. But then another thought hit him. They didn't have tracking skills. If they couldn't find the boss or the exit in time, they could get stuck. And once the portal closed, they might disappear forever. Outside, the man with the analyzer saw that the door had already shut. That only made him more frustrated. Back inside the dungeon, monsters wandered around freely. One of them suddenly got smashed and sent flying. He had already started. Observing them closely, he noticed something interesting about their bodies. He began pulling out the crystals from the ones he defeated. After taking down a few, he only managed to find one usable crystal. Still, his main goal wasn't the loot, it was getting stronger. Meanwhile, the man watching from afar kept observing everything. He started wondering just how many monsters had already been taken down. Soon, one of the others used a tracking skill and finally located him. When they checked his stats, they were shocked. He had already gathered over 100 achievement points. That was enough to unlock new abilities. He immediately used those points and acquired a new skill, something related to controlling beasts. Right after that, 2 monsters charged at him. Without hesitation, he stopped them in place and finished them off easily. A system message appeared, confirming he had earned an achievement. But then something strange followed. An error message. It mentioned a data conflict, something about the system not syncing properly. He didn't understand what it meant, but right after that, he leveled up. Now at level 2, his stats increased again. Without wasting time, he spent more points to unlock another ability, this one tied to a tree spirit. The system confirmed the skill. Curious, he decided to try it out. As soon as he activated it, light spread around him. and a green spirit began to form. Seeing it appear, even he looked surprised. The moment he saw the spirit, he realized it wasn't new to him. It looked just like something he had seen long ago in the forest, back when he thought it was nothing more than a glowing insect. Now it made sense. He immediately gave it an order to search for the missing goblins. The spirit floated away, moving through the surroundings as if it was connected to everything around it. As it searched, he started receiving faint impressions, memories pulled from plants and trees nearby. It wasn't very fast, but it worked. He figured the delay was because his level was still low. Opening his status window again, he reviewed his abilities. 2 skills caught his attention, one related to searching and another to tracking. Both seemed useful, so he decided to unlock them right away. After that, he placed his hand on the ground. First, he activated the search skill, using the ground as a reference point. Then he used tracking. The result surprised him. The system indicated that the goblins he was looking for were already dead. That didn't make sense. He immediately looked in that direction and felt something was off. Those weren't killed by something normal. Without wasting time, he rushed over. What he found shocked him. The same boy from earlier was being attacked by a different kind of monster. He asked what he was doing there. The boy looked relieved and said he was glad he came. Then he explained the situation. He wasn't hunting. He was the one being hunted, and he needed help. Without hesitation, he stepped in. He blocked the monster's attack head on. The creature tried to recover, but he didn't give it a chance. Another strike sent it crashing into a rock. Blood covered its body, but he didn't stop there. In an instant, he was already on top of it. The fight ended just as quickly as it began. The system confirmed the kill. He leveled up again and earned a large number of achievement points. The boy could only stare, completely amazed at what he had just witnessed. Calmly, he said that the dungeon should be cleared by now. The boy confirmed it. Not long after, both of them stepped out of the portal. Outside, a group was already watching. One of them wondered if he was the same person who had captured that bounty target earlier. Another mentioned that Captain Kang had ordered them to report if he showed up again. They even checked the records, surprised at how quickly the dungeon had been cleared. The boy said he needed to return to his team, but would contact him later. He agreed and said he would leave the borrowed items at the warehouse. Later, at the warehouse, he had already changed his clothes and mentioned that he was starving. That's when someone approached him. The man asked if his name was Park. He asked who he was. The man introduced himself as Kang, the captain of a combat team from a guild, and asked for a moment to talk. They sat down shortly after. He asked if Kang was from a certain guild, and Kang confirmed it. Then he invited him to join, saying the guild could provide the right environment for him to grow stronger. But the answer came immediately. He wasn't interested. Kang was clearly annoyed. He couldn't understand how someone would reject an offer like that without even thinking. He even suggested making a deal if he was already tied to another group, but he wasn't part of any guild. Kang explained that while his guild wasn't the top one, the strongest groups were all close in power. Still, the answer didn't change. He simply said he didn't like working under others. Time passed again. Back at home, he looked around and quietly noted that they still hadn't returned. Lying back, he figured the father and son were probably just spending time together. After a while, the old woman showed up, complaining that young people these days had no sense of time. He casually told her to sit down and rest, saying the weather was perfect for a nap. She refused right away, saying she still had clothes to hang and no time to relax. Seeing her working alone, he got up and went to help. While they worked, she asked if he was really Junho's older brother. He confirmed it. She said it was a nice surprise to have him there, but he answered honestly, it wasn't really a good thing. The old woman didn't seem too bothered. She said with monsters appearing everywhere, and the world changing so much, seeing someone come back younger wasn't even that shocking anymore. Then she added that since he hadn't seen his brother for years, he should take better care of himself and not hurt his family again. He just smiled and told her not to worry. He wasn't going down that easily. Not long after, Junho returned with his son and greeted him. Without wasting time, he handed Junho a paper. Junho looked confused and asked what it was. He told him it was money to clear his debt and said he should use it to fix his life. Then he added that once everything was settled, they could finally sit down and eat together properly. Junho couldn't hold back his emotions. With tears in his eyes, he asked how he could ever repay something like that. He brushed it off and told him to stop being emotional and just go handle it. Junho nodded and left, still overwhelmed. Just before he went too far, he was called back again. He was asked if he had enough money for food and drinks along the way. Junho said yes and promised he'd be back before anyone even noticed he was gone. Later, he stayed on the terrace with his nephew. Suddenly, a system window appeared. It said the target following him needed a name. He looked at the dog and wondered what to call it. The kid suggested Baku. He thought about it for a second and said it wasn't a bad name. From that moment on, the dog had a name. After some time, the boy started complaining that he was hungry and wondered why his father was taking so long. Then, in the distance, he spotted the truck. Thinking his brother had returned, he walked over with the child. But the moment they got close, something felt wrong. Junho stepped out of the truck, covered in blood, and collapsed right in front of them. He froze, trying to process what just happened. Something had clearly gone very wrong. Later that night, the scene shifted to a building. Inside, a group of men were casually playing cards. They were talking about an upcoming fight and how people were already placing bets on a fighter named Miho. They also brought up recent losses from a previous job, wondering if there was any update from Horizon. Then suddenly, loud banging hit the door. One of them got annoyed and asked what the noise was. A few stood up to check. Before they could react, the door burst open. A man, completely covered in blood, stood there. One of them immediately grabbed him by the head and dragged him away from the entrance. The others just stared, confused about what was happening. Then, everything changed. From the doorway, a cold presence appeared. Before they could even understand it, chaos broke out. Furniture went flying. A cabinet smashed into the room, followed by weapons crashing across the floor. And just like that, the situation spiraled out of control. The entire place turned into chaos. Men were getting thrown around like nothing. In just a few seconds, everyone was already on the ground. Even their boss couldn't believe what he was seeing. One of the guys tried to make sense of it, guessing that this had to be an awakened fighter. But before he could react, a table came flying at him. He rushed in right after it. Standing over the boss, he asked calmly if his name was Kim. The man snapped back, saying yes, and demanded to know who he was. The answer came straight. He said he was there to settle Park Jong-ho's debt. That only made the man angrier. He called him crazy and said attacking honest workers wasn't something awakened people should be doing. He even warned him that he wouldn't get away with this. The response was simple, a hard slap. He asked what that had to do with anything. Then he questioned why they had beaten his brother when he came to pay. All they had to do was take the money and leave. So why did they go that far? Why did they touch his family? The slaps kept coming. The man quickly broke down, begging for mercy. He was given two choices: clear the debt or keep getting beaten. The answer came fast. He chose to settle everything. Not long after, the entire group was kneeling in front of him. They confirmed that their client no longer owed anything. Every bit of debt was cleared. He gave them one final warning. If they ever came near his family again, they wouldn't survive it. They all nodded, agreeing immediately, but it was obvious that not all of them had truly given up. Later, once he was gone, one of the men spoke up in anger. He couldn't believe that a kid like him acted without fear. He wondered if he really thought no one was backing them. The scene shifted again. Inside another building, the guild leader from earlier brought up something new. He said he had found interesting talent and asked someone to check the file. The response came quickly. The person was only F rank and had just registered that same day. That made things even more suspicious. They tried to dig deeper into his records, but access was blocked. That only made them more curious. After pushing through the restrictions, they finally saw some data, but it still didn't make sense. Parts of his profile were hidden, and there was clearly more going on. They checked his abilities. According to the report, he was a conjurer type. It also mentioned that he had easily defeated someone with a high bounty. Then they noticed something else. He had been missing for 10 years. That raised even more questions. They started wondering if he was some kind of special agent. One of them argued that maybe he was just strong because of his abilities, nothing more, but the other didn't agree. He felt like something bigger was going on and suggested they stop trying to recruit him. In his view, someone like that could already belong to another country. Still, the situation didn't add up. Why would someone like that enter such a low-level dungeon? The other man didn't see why it mattered so much, but he was told to keep watching him anyway. He didn't seem too happy about that. Soon after, the scene shifted again, to a hospital. He walked into the hospital room and asked if his brother was awake. Junho looked up and immediately asked why he had brought so much food. The answer was simple. He had heard that eating well helped recovery, so he didn't hold back. He then asked how he was feeling. Junho said he was getting better and that the bandages would come off the next day. After that, Junho brought up the mercenary test. He asked if it was happening tomorrow, and the answer was yes. Junho seemed hopeful. He said it would be great if he passed and got picked up by a good guild. But that idea didn't sit well with him. In his mind, he had once ruled the wild. There was no way he was going to stand under someone else and follow orders. Still, Junho suggested he at least consider joining a top guild. The reply was clear. There was no need. If anything, he would just build his own. That left Junho speechless. Later, the scene shifted to the adventurer's agency. The blonde woman was walking through the building when an older man stopped her. He asked what had been going on with her lately. There had already been 2 incidents in her area, and if the last portal had turned into something worse, the damage could have been huge. He questioned whether things really couldn't run properly without her. Then he asked her to help out again, mentioning that the portal department manager had been on his case all day. What he really meant was that she wasn't using her full potential. She admitted she had been having trouble focusing. He handed her a document and told her to stop complaining and read it. The moment she saw it, she was shocked. Instead of a break, she was being assigned to manual duty again. The man pointed out that she wasn't the only one, and that it wasn't her first time doing this anyway. Annoyed, she started walking off. He called out to her, warning her not to fail candidates just because she was in a bad mood. He reminded her they were already short on people. She didn't seem convinced. In her view, it was better to reject weak candidates who couldn't even protect themselves. Soon after, the scene shifted again. A group of applicants were talking nervously about how badly they needed to pass the test. Nearby, someone was even live streaming the moment, trying to capture everything. Everyone there had the same goal, to earn a mercenary license. Another group entered, and the streamer quickly ended the broadcast, saying the test was about to begin. Right then, he arrived. He glanced at the boy who had been streaming. The boy asked if it was his first time watching, but he didn't even understand who he was talking to. The boy told him to give some space. Not long after, a supervisor stepped forward and introduced himself. He explained that over the next 3 days, multiple supervisors would evaluate everyone. Each person had received a number at the entrance, and supervisors would be assigned randomly. When their number was called, they had to line up in front of their assigned examiner. Time passed as names were called, one by one. Eventually, his turn came. He stepped forward with his number, and then he noticed something. The person assigned to evaluate him was the same blonde woman he had met before. Seeing her again, he immediately recognized her. They were told to head back to their waiting rooms and rest until the next announcement. Meanwhile, the streamer walked into his room, still talking to his viewers. He said the test would be tough, but acted confident like he'd breeze through it. Then it turned out he was in the same room. When he looked to the side, he noticed the boy and asked why he suddenly looked so down after being so hyped earlier. The boy froze for a second, then realized who he was. It was the same guy from before. He immediately brought up the blonde supervisor everyone called a witch. According to him, she failed people just based on her mood. But the response he got wasn't what he expected. Instead, he was asked why he was blaming her instead of blaming people who came unprepared. That annoyed him. He felt brushed off and snapped back, asking if he even knew how to respect someone more experienced. The reply was simple. If there was a problem, they could just settle it with a fight. That made things worse. The boy asked if he really thought he'd be easy to beat. The answer came without hesitation. Yes. Now fully angry, the boy told him to follow him. At the same time, the blonde supervisor arrived at the room, only to find it empty. She was clearly irritated and wondered where everyone had gone. The scene shifted to a training ring. The two stood facing each other. The boy started talking big, saying he wasn't someone a beginner should challenge. He even bragged about being a rising YouTuber and asked if he had never heard of him. The response completely threw him off. He asked if that was supposed to be food. That only made him angrier. The crowd around them started cheering for the streamer as he said he enjoyed teaching rude people a lesson. Meanwhile, he just said it looked fun. The boy warned him not to regret this later and rushed in with a punch. But right then, she appeared. She ordered everyone to return to their rooms immediately. The crowd scattered fast. Then she turned to the two of them and asked if they were trying to fail the test. She made it clear she didn't care about excuses. Only one of them would take the blame, which meant one of them would fail. So, if they wanted to settle it, they should finish the fight. The boy thought this was exactly the kind of crazy behavior he had heard about. Both of them got ready again. The boy told him not to get scared now, since he was the one who started it. He simply apologized in advance. The moment the fight began, the boy rushed forward and got knocked out instantly. One punch. She was stunned. Ever since she first met him, something about him had felt off. And now, it was even clearer. He casually asked why she was just standing there. Then he said if she wanted a fight too, she could step in, but on one condition. If he won, she couldn't fail the other guy. She thought he had to be crazy. Still, she stepped into the ring. Before starting, she asked if he was an irregular. He said he had no idea what that meant. She attacked first. He dodged. She kept pressing forward with fast, precise strikes. For a while, he just defended, reading her movements. Then he struck back. She told him that if he won, she would keep her word. But when his hit landed, she felt it immediately. Something wasn't right. He wasn't fighting seriously. He was clearly holding back. A moment later, she was shocked again. He casually admitted that she was stronger than he expected. At the same time, she couldn't believe he had endured her attacks so far. Without wasting time, she rushed in again, saying this would be the end. Another strike landed, followed by a rapid series of attacks. But then things changed. Out of nowhere, he started fighting back. His punch connected, and her shield cracked. That alone stunned her. Breaking that defense wasn't something just anyone could do. Even though it wasn't enough to finish the fight, it proved something. He wasn't normal. He charged again, clearly enjoying himself. That confirmed her suspicion. She said it out loud. He really was an irregular. Still confused, he asked what that even meant. But instead of explaining, she suddenly stopped. She surrendered. That caught him off guard. He asked why, since the fight was just getting interesting. She said the space was too small for her abilities. If they fought somewhere bigger, it would be different. Then he asked something unexpected. He wanted to know if there were many strong women like her on Earth. She said there weren't, so he made his choice. He said he chose her, and asked if she wanted to have children with him. The answer came instantly, a hard slap. At that exact moment, the streamer woke up, completely confused about what had just happened. She, still irritated, turned and walked away. The boy was still trying to process everything. Getting knocked out in one punch had already crushed his confidence. He felt like he had wasted his chance and embarrassed himself. Still frustrated, he asked if he was satisfied now, but the reply surprised him. He pointed out that he hadn't been disqualified. At the same time, someone was watching everything through a camera. In another room, an older man stared at the screen, shocked that she had actually lost. He then told the boy they should leave together. But the boy was still confused about one thing. Why wasn't he failed? The explanation was simple. He had asked her not to disqualify him. That only raised another question. Why did he get slapped? He brushed it off, saying it wasn't important. But the boy started putting things together. He assumed that the slap was taken on purpose, to calm her down and protect him from being disqualified. After realizing that, he quietly started following him. Then suddenly, an announcement came. He was being called to the supervisor's office. A little later, he arrived. He asked why he was called in. The supervisor explained that the entire room had been monitored, and he had seen the fight. What shocked him most was that a candidate managed to hold his own against someone far stronger. So he asked directly, was he awakened too? The answer came back the same as always. He still didn't fully understand what that meant. Seeing that, the supervisor decided to explain things from the beginning. He said that portals on Earth were connected to 3 different worlds. The first was a place where elves and dwarves lived. It had a friendly relationship with Earth, and people who returned from there often gained magical knowledge or crafting skills. The second world was filled with constant conflict. Martial artists and another race fought for control. The martial artists were allies, but the others were considered enemies. The third world was far more brutal, ruled by savage creatures, where survival itself was a challenge. Some humans who returned from these worlds gained powers far beyond normal awakened individuals. Those people were called irregulars. After hearing all that, he said it still didn't make much sense. But one thing he was sure about, he hadn't come from any of those worlds. The supervisor was clearly thrown off. If he didn't come from any of the known worlds, then what was he? He wondered if he might be a dungeon returnee instead, and asked directly which world he had come back from. The answer stayed the same. He said he had already explained everything to the doctor. He had lived with wolves for over 1,000 years. Later, after finishing the full story, he was simply thanked and told to return to the waiting room. As soon as he left, the supervisor shook his head. The story sounded way too absurd to believe. Right then, another man entered the room and introduced himself. He said he had been called in. The supervisor told him to take over room 15. The man looked confused since that was supposed to be under Captain Choi, but he was told it didn't matter. She had left. His job now was to monitor that specific candidate closely and report everything after the test. Back in the waiting area, he sat with the others, waiting for the next stage. Soon, everyone lined up again with their assigned supervisors, and just like that, the new man really did take over their group. Seeing this, the streamer joked that maybe the blonde supervisor got fired. The new supervisor introduced himself as Sang and explained he would be handling them from now on. He then announced the requirements for the physical test. They needed to complete a 100-meter run in under 9 seconds and finish a triangle course within an hour. Once it started, people began failing almost immediately. One girl complained that healers should have easier conditions, but Sang shut that down quickly. He asked if monsters would go easy on her just because of her role. Then the next candidate was called. Han stepped forward confidently, saying 9 seconds was nothing. He even told him they'd meet again in the next round. The signal was given, and Han ran. The result came out, 8 seconds. He passed. Then it was his turn. He stepped forward while Han cheered from the side. The moment the race began, he disappeared. In just a blink, he crossed the finish line. Everyone was left speechless. Not long after, the result spread quickly. A report reached higher officials, and even they couldn't believe what they were hearing. Back at the field, reporters started gathering, filming, and taking pictures. His performance had already turned heads. At the same time, elsewhere, a call was made. A woman from the association was asked to review footage of his test. After watching it, she was visibly surprised. She was told that a lie detection ability had already confirmed his earlier statements. That meant his story might actually be true. Even then, it was hard to accept. But one thing became clear. He wasn't normal. If anything, he could be an irregular, someone far beyond standard ranks. And if his story really was true, then maybe he had returned from a completely unknown world. That possibility alone was enough to raise alarms. She immediately ordered that no reporters should get close to the training grounds again. But the response came too late. He was already in the news. Without losing his strength at all, she started thinking it through. Maybe the only reason he was ranked F was because he lacked dimensional energy. If that was true, then his real strength was being completely underestimated. And if his story about another world was real, something beyond the known 3, then it could give the country a massive advantage. Meanwhile, outside, reporters were already trying to force their way into the building. Inside, things were calmer. The remaining candidates were eating, and he was sitting there with Han, casually going through food like nothing happened. Han couldn't stop staring. Getting knocked out in one hit still didn't feel real to him. Noticing that, he asked what was wrong and if he was done eating. Han quickly brushed it off and even offered to grab him some water. But deep down, he had already made up his mind. This guy was on a completely different level. Soon, time passed and the room started to empty out. Many lockers were left unused. Han realized what that meant. Most of the others had failed. That made things worse. He explained that the next phase involved dungeon raids, and smaller teams would struggle a lot more. Bigger teams had an advantage with more skills and support, but the response he got was calm. They didn't need more people. Han was surprised by how confident he sounded. Still, he tried to explain that dungeons were unpredictable, and having more teammates could save their lives. Again, he was told not to worry. Then the topic shifted. He was asked what he had been doing on his phone earlier. Han said he was streaming on YouTube and was surprised he didn't know about it. The answer was honest. It really did feel like he had been living cut off from the world. So Han pulled out his phone and showed him the app, explaining how everything worked. After watching for a bit, he casually said Han seemed like a good person. Later, the two stepped outside. As they walked, Han started thinking. This guy had everything: looks, physique, and insane ability. He had already made headlines, and if he showed even more power in dungeons, every guild would start chasing him. Then came something unexpected. He said he liked Han and asked him to join his clan. Han froze. Instead of joining a guild, he wanted to build his own. The answer was yes. In that moment, Han's mind started racing. He imagined everything: forming a clan, recording their journey, diving into dungeons alongside the strongest candidate of the year. Then his thoughts shifted back to his past. Boxing had been the only thing that kept him going through a rough life. Even when he kept losing, he pushed through and earned his license. But the disaster destroyed everything. With nothing left, he ended up becoming a content creator. Now, standing here, it felt like he had finally found what he was looking for. This was his chance. He said he would do anything. Hearing that, he said he liked him even more and asked him to explain more about streaming. Han, holding back tears, said he wouldn't go back on his word. When asked why he suddenly got emotional, he brushed it off. Then he explained something important. To officially form a clan, they needed at least 3 members, and clearly that was something he hadn't thought about yet. A moment later, someone new walked into the room. Han looked at him and immediately asked why a monk was there. The man calmly introduced himself as Miyuki Jin and said he had been assigned to Team 15. Right then, a device started ringing. An announcement followed. Everyone had to put on their battle suits and gather in the 3rd floor conference room within 30 minutes. Both of them were surprised. They couldn't believe they had to suit up this late at night. He even asked if the dungeon raid wasn't supposed to happen the next day. Miyuki explained that raids could start at any time. Sometimes they happened without warning. Han couldn't help but call it insane. Soon after, everyone gathered. They were told that the dungeon raid itself would be part of the test. The target was in Sector 5, an area under the control of a guild. Because it was protected, it was considered a low-level dungeon with multiple entry points. Hearing that, he asked what "under protection" actually meant. Han was honestly shocked at how little he knew. So he explained. When portals started appearing everywhere, the government couldn't handle them alone. So they brought in private mercenary groups to manage different sectors. These groups were called guilds. In exchange for protecting the area, they were allowed to process and profit from the dungeon's energy. He summed it up simply. It was basically like having your own hunting ground. That caught his interest. At first, he only wanted a clan because he missed hunting with his old pack. But now, it meant something bigger. If they built their own group, they could even control territory. Han pointed out that owning a dungeon meant no fees and full control. That made things clear. The goal wasn't just forming a clan anymore, it was becoming a guild. Han, still trying to stay grounded, reminded him that they should focus on passing the test first. At this point, he started wondering if he was really clueless, or just acting like it. Soon, the instructor showed an image of the dungeon. It was a labyrinth-type dungeon, one of the simplest kinds. Fewer monsters, easier structure, but also less reward. The bigger problem wasn't strength, it was getting lost. In a maze like that, without proper tracking, people could wander endlessly. That's why tracking skills were so valuable. Then came another surprise. He casually said he already had one. Han was stunned. Learning a skill like that usually cost a lot. The fact that he already had it before even passing the test made no sense. For a moment, Han started thinking he might actually come from a rich background. Meanwhile, Miyuki stood quietly beside them. Han asked if he had any awakened ability. There was no answer. That only made things more confusing. Then, without saying anything, the man pulled out a strange tool. The scene shifted for a moment. In the past, monsters had surrounded a house, tearing through everything as they charged forward. Inside, another monk calmly told them to stay quiet, as if nothing unusual was happening. Miyuki had asked why he was still awake so late. The man told him to take someone important and evacuate immediately. Right then, a monster appeared behind him and was taken down instantly. Back in the present, Miyuki looked uneasy. Han noticed it right away and asked why he suddenly seemed so nervous. The man finally spoke, keeping things simple. From this point on, they would move toward the marked target and begin the dungeon assault as a team under the supervisor's lead. He added that he hoped everyone would pass, and no one would fail. Soon, they all headed toward the portal. After getting off the bus, the soldiers reminded them to stay alert. Once inside, they had to act as if the supervisors weren't there and follow all the rules on their own. Han looked around and noticed something worrying. Their team only had 3 people. He quietly asked if the supervisor would actually step in if things went wrong. The man didn't answer. He just told them to move. As they walked, he asked Han why he seemed so nervous and whether they were allowed to use personal weapons. The soldier confirmed they could. That only made Han more surprised, especially seeing that even the monk had a proper dimensional weapon ready. One by one, the teams entered the portal. Then, it was their turn. Han watched as he stepped in first again and couldn't help but feel uneasy. He told him to secure the area carefully, but suddenly stopped mid-sentence. He realized something. He had already messed up. Making noise and breaking formation could cost him points, and worse, it could attract monsters. And it did. And here this part ends. Please subscribe to the channel and comment. Part 2 for more of this story.